Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the show today. Very happy to have you here. Hopefully your weekend was a good one. Enjoying with your family and friends. It's hot out there if you live in a hot place anyway. But there's plenty of things called air conditioners. Stay inside them. Nevertheless, I know for my weekend, for the most part, I sat and watched Olympics and just kind of puttered around with other things, which was nice, quiet. A little bit of an announcement first things up here, but I got to go over here and hit that like and share button. Please do the same thing. Let people know so they can come in if they choose to. We do appreciate everybody who's stays involved with the channel and listens to our stuff. And we do ride and solo. Yes, I am, Dave. Ride and solo. So let me see here, and also want to share. Thundero is busy today, and that's fine. So let's see here. Let me get this all set up. Yeah. All right. Good. Yeah, no, it's been a very interesting weekend for me. Like I said, it was pretty quiet, but I did get a lot of things done. I have been watching the Olympics, and which is kind of interesting. We've seen a lot of controversy come out of the Olympics. We talked about it last week, and of course, I've mentioned a few times coming up to the Olympics. How are you going to run it in a country that's the government doesn't even have control over? And of course, outside of the venue, it's horrible. Bad things are happening all over the place, and sometimes they're comically bad. Like the Seine River is so absolutely filthy they can't actually run the various races that are supposed to be in the river because it's dirty. Now, keep in mind one thing you don't see them know it. The news stories actually talking about is they spent hundreds of millions of dollars to clean that up. And unsuccessfully. And the French people, the Parisians anyway, were very upset that they were spending that kind of wasteful money on something as silly as an Olympics. And it didn't even accomplish anything, which is kind of normally what happens when governments involved in it. But do keep in mind, that's another reason why the opening ceremony was so basic and simple. They've tried their best to run the most economical game in history, and I kind of get that. I get that. The general idea and concept they went for is interesting. It was different, but of course, the trouble with violence and filthiness, and it's just France. It's kind of how their culture is. But inside the venue, I've noticed, and this is what I want to report on because I have been watching the games. They've been great. They're packed. There's no empty seats. People are having a good old time. They're enjoying. They're cheering. Everyone's friendly. There's good sportsmanship in general going on, and of course the athletes are doing their thing. So good and bad, good and bad. But that's what I did this weekend. Curious what you guys got up to. So you know, I do know today that I have a quarter cup of lukewarm coffee. That's a problem. Yeah. Oh well. It is what it is. I had French toast this morning, though. What did you have, Dave and Roger? French toast. I put peanut butter and syrup on mine. A lot of people do like powder. I don't know why you want it so dry, but I do enjoy my peanut butter and maple syrup. It's very tasty. Although I can't eat it very often, fat and all. But it is what it is. Doctor gets mad at me if my number goes up at all. So better not to. But I got plenty of time in between doctor visits, right? You just have to kind of starve yourself to death at the end, and then they don't see it. That's the strategy. Trick the doctor. Yeah, yeah. I know, childish. I get it. I am going to jump right into it today, though, since I am riding solo, and we'll go ahead and take a look what I've prepared for us. Speaking of the Olympics, I have brought that up first, and yeah, it's pretty interesting. Things that are going on. Like I said, I've been enjoying it, even though there is some chaos. I'm using a different browser today, so the I still have to get the workflow down. But I'm just kind of sick and tired of Google. Just sick and tired of it. They block things. Things don't work properly. You can't do searches. It's outrageous. Brave, on the other hand, doesn't seem to care. You search whatever you want. Although I'm sure there's some shenanigans or at least some connection to Google. These days, it's hard to get away from Google, isn't it? And of course, this is really why we need to kind of bust up Google. To be honest with you, they have complete control, and they are trying to control the narrative. But anyway, let's take a look here. We got this is the home page of the Olympics itself, the Paris Olympics, and it's interesting. Like I said, in the venues themselves, for the most part, they've been great. But there are some major controversies. Not only that Seine River is so dirty, is one that people talk about quite a bit. The amount of arrests and the amount of police activity to keep just French people out of Paris, which is interesting. Um, they're willing to do that here, but not day to day. It's kind of like California, all of a sudden can clean up the streets overnight, but they won't do it for the citizens. They'll do it for a Chinese dictator, communist one at that. But so we have something similar here in Paris. Of course, some of the other issues, the big one is with the boxers, right? And everyone's concentrating on the boxers because male men fighting women can be deadly, right? And that's the one focusing. But there's a lot of transgenders in this game. There are many. Now they say, well, there were more in Tokyo, but yeah, was there though? And the thing is, the ones here in Paris are gaining a little bit more headlines. But we definitely have plenty of transgenders running around. For instance, the American female basketball team, the NWA or WNBA team. Not only did they not bring Clark, the best player in the league, because she's white and not a lesbian. How dare she even? But which seems to be the accusation. But Brittany Griner is clearly a dude. I mean, even by their own admission. So we have a lot of that issue. But the boxer one is dangerous, and it's come to the fore. And it's very interesting. A lot of people are quite upset about it. For obvious reasons. But according to the IOC here, you are an absolutely disgusting human. How dare you not enjoy men beating up women? And they are doubling, tripling, quadrupling down at the same moment. They do not care what you think. You are a horrible, horrible human, and you need to die, I guess. But that's kind of what we've been under for a while here, right? This kind of thinking, and they're right, and you can't tell them otherwise. And there's been a lot of other controversies. The refereeing has been very DEI-ish, and we all know what that means. Incompetent. There's been a lot of complaints. I mean, there always are. You always have countries will complain about their losing or trying to juxtapose to get themselves to win. I don't know why it's that important, but it seems to be. But there's a lot more in this, and I've actually witnessed some bad refereeing myself. But I don't know that this Olympics is any worse than any other one though, because there always tends to be mistakes. The Olympics I saw were really clean. Were like in the 80s, early 90s. Um, but there always seems to be mistakes like that. There's another thing too. If you go look up world records for, Olympic records and world records, you might be surprised to find out that most of those world records, the earliest setting of them is like the 80s. Isn't that weird? You would think here we are 30, case by case, 40 years later, that we would have more, well, records would be more modern, right? We'd have stuff that, oh, it was 7 years ago, it was the record was broken, or 10 years ago. No, we're looking at 30, 40 years ago. It's surprising how many of those records are from the 80s. And I think a lot of us understand why that is, because that is when the helicopter mom came in, right? That's when it really started to become a big deal. Um, Online shopping. I'm not doing online shopping. We talk about Roger. My wife does all the shopping. That's just brave. I don't know. They have some like point system or something. I've never really looked into it. But anyway, looking at the medals here. So we have like overall totals at the end, I guess, and we have gold, silver, and bronze. America's already cleaning up. Geez, look at that. We started a little bit slow, but the track is starting, and that's where we're really strong. And that's usually like that. America's usually, somewhere in the top in the first week, and the second week we kind of barrel on. I live here in Japan, of course, and they're very excited. They don't know what's wrong. They've already won 9 golds, 5 silver, and 10 bronze, and they're like, "What happened?" Because they don't usually win that many. So they're excited. They're having a good old time, fun Olympics. And like I said, the athletes and the spectator at the events, for the most part, are having a great time, which is the point. And I've seen a lot of really, really good sportsmanship and friendliness amongst the competitors, and that's great. Let's see. China is doing well with golds, which is good for them. They are under a pretty heavy doping scandal right now, though. This one might be pretty similar to the Russian one. You would think they would learn. uh, the French are doing well, which of course is normal. The home country of any Olympics tends to do better. Australia, Britain up there doing some stuff. Korea, if you're from there, and of course Japan tailing out here in seven. Like I said, doing really well. So if your country is having a good Olympics, congratulations. And like I said, I've seen a lot of fun stuff, and I know some people are very anti-Olympics because of all the politics and stuff, which I get, but understand that the athletes didn't do any of that nonsense, right? And this is their time to shine. These people, quarter to quarter or year to year are out there trying to make a living and do their thing as an athlete, and no one pays attention other than family and real diehard fans. Most of us only see the majority of these sports like once every 4 years. And, so it's kind of a shame for them, right? I always thought it was kind of weird when people are excited about watching soccer or baseball or basketball uh, at the Olympics. And it's like, well, you can watch those anytime, dude. Go watch something else. And I'm kind of curious what you guys have been watching and what you've been enjoying. Me personally, I try to be as eclectic as possible, but I've really been enjoying canoeing. That is different. I love the course they build. I watch water polo, something I never see outside the Olympics. That's a rough sport, dude. I've been watching. A lot of sailing stuff. Now I know I sail, but I don't watch sailing, right? And you learn some stuff about the that world. Another thing I was watching was the horses. Now I grew up with horses, of course, but watching the jumps and the dressage and stuff like that. It's a little boring, but I'm older now, so I can enjoy that stuff. It's a good thing about getting older. You become more boring. It's great. Yeah. Let's see here. Dave says, that's why I like Grand Sumo. It's to entertain the gods. Well, fair enough, but it's also to entertain the old people, you know, because it's, boring. I am surprised how many of you foreigner guys like the sumo. I tried it when I first married my wife, just to understand the culture and, see if I could find something new, right? And yeah, I gave up pretty quick. I wasn't very interested in that. Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, I guess that's enough on the Olympics. If you guys have any interesting points or stories or anything like that, let me know. Another thing I'll mention, I probably already said it, was they have some wonderful, even though it's a filthy place, they have some wonderful venues to do these games at, though, right? Iconic buildings and things, Versailles, the Eiffel Tower, a whole bunch of old world stuff that they can do these events in and around. And I hear that the actual French locals are being somewhat friendly, which is weird. But hey, you know, it's better than going too far outside the city. Like I said, they pretty much locked it down. And down in Marseille and some of the other places that they're doing like the sailing and stuff outside of Paris, those things are fine. Yeah. Anyway, there it is. Let's go on here. I thought this was This one I really had up here for Thundero, of course, but we'll get into it. If you've been paying attention to the news, and honestly, I don't know how much the American news is telling you this, but Europe is on fire, quite literally in a lot of places. Do keep in mind it was a few months ago before the Olympics started that the various Muslim imams had stood up and say we're going to protest the Olympics and whitey doing whitey, which is kind of weird. There's a lot of black people that do it, but whatever. They're going to protest it by burning down Europe. The religion of peace strikes again, right? This is a thing, and of course, there's been a lot of violence leading up to the Olympics. And on day one, of course, there was a lot of trouble, and it is currently ongoing, but it's fallen over into other places. And Ireland is absolutely on fire, quite literally in some places, but metaphorically in others. But Britain itself is also on fire, and the government is kind of uniformly, uh, uh, you know uh, rounding the wagons, circling the wagons together in regard to this. Because, for instance, in the UK, there's been a lot of knife attacks, beatings, and rapes of women. Just we had a some guy walk into. Now we don't know exactly. I haven't checked the news in a couple days, but I don't know that he was actually a Muslim or it was religiously motivated. But he basically walked into a Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon girls event where they were making friendship plate bracelets and all the kind of little thing little girls do, right? And just stabbed a whole bunch of them, killed a few of them, injured at least 8 or 10, right? Just outrageous little girls, right? And this kind of stuff is happening all across Britain, and it's been building. We have the grooming cases where they're basically effectively raping the Pakistani immigrants who were raping women in Britain, and the police did nothing about it. This has been brewing and building, but it's popped. Yeah, it's popped. Cities all across Britain are just pushing back. And of course, the police are not defending the people from migrant violence. Oh, no, no, no. You alt righters, you right wingers, you disgusting criminal thuggeries, as this lady has put it. And they've made sure to keep the courts open when they're usually shut on the weekend, I guess, to make sure that they get them criminal thuggeries, right? Because the people of Britain are the problem, you see, and particularly the white people of Britain. They're the problem. They need to be dealt with, and that's how the government is looking at it. They're not defending the people whatsoever, and they're very openly and loudly saying that the people of Britain are the problem, and they will be dealt with, and the police will beat you about the head and shoulders and arrest you, and that's what they're doing. And of course, that's pumping up the violence. Now, keep in mind the new liberal communist government that was elected in by the people, which is pretty funny. You had Nigel Farage. Just put Nigel in. He's a sweet old man. Let him do his thing. You'd be in better shape. But no, no, no. We put communists in charge. And what does Starmer do? The new prime minister, right? That's who Starmer is. He's on vacation. Just got the job. Just got elected, but he's on vacation. Not to be bothered by governmental problems and the people needing a voice. No, God, we don't need that. Don't need none of that. But yeah, so it's yeah, don't live in Britain, I guess. I wonder how Rabbit's doing. I saw Nottingham was on fire, literally, and we know Rabbit lives in Nottingham. So I'm kind of curious what he'll have to say. However, a little bit of an announcement, which I was saying earlier. Next week, I have been informed that I am not going to be here in this village. I'm going to be at a city far to the north. So, will be no shows at all next week. Not on Sunday, not on the Tuesday show. There will be nothing. There will be nothing next week. I have been absconded with. So, I do apologize. But nevertheless, the violence is going on all across Europe is, of course, disturbing. But who knew years ago allowing millions of, military age migrants into your countries would lead to violence? I mean, who knew? You can't possibly know that. You know, it's just, that's shocking even. Yeah. Look at this Karen here, how pleased she is to get white people. Because white people are the problem, Yeah. And this is where we've come. They've been pushing this nonsense for years, and they're just going on and on and on, and they're not going to stop because they're brainwashed and they believe white people need to be eliminated. And that's what this white lady thinks, and a lot of them like her. And of course, same things happening in America and Australia, and happening all over the world. They're very angry with the Japanese because they wanted Japanese to do the same thing. And the Japanese said, "No," kind of like that. And good for the Japanese for doing that. But yeah, hmm. I'm kind of curious what the political situation over in America is going to be here coming up in November, because everyone's telling me Kamala's guaranteed to win now. She's your favorite lovey lovely dovey dovey. That's what I'm being told. That's what the press says. So let's see here. Roger says a day with your wife, or what's going on with that? You're not being here next week. No, it's Obon. It's a big holiday here. It's basically the old Samhain, but very few people alive today have celebrated Samhain correctly. Most people celebrate it as Halloween. But it's the same. It's like their biggest holiday. And normally we don't do anything since the kids left for university, which is 8 years ago, right? And so we've been kind of quiet with all holidays. We don't even put up Christmas decorations or anything anymore. I mean, it's for the kids, right? And I do it at my school. But because my son just got married and my daughter is engaged and all that kind of stuff, I guess they decided that the whole family's going to Fukuoka, which is up north, and we are doing because I had a week off for work. I didn't even know it. I literally have 9 days in a row off, which is weird. I don't usually get that much time. So I've been told we're going to Fukuoka. So that's what I'm driving, and I will live in hotels and eat a lot of yakitori or tapa, Portuguese tapas is what that is. Uh, uh, Summer Kamala is not going to be president. Yeah, that's not what the news is saying. Outside of America, guys, keep in mind the news is saying Kamala is way ahead and she's going to crush Trump. That's what they're saying. That's what the news says here in all over Asia. Kamala's the next president of the United States. That's what they're saying. Just understand that. Yeah. And I love the argument because I saw this, and the Japanese are so excited about someone that's not Trump because the Japanese, like many other people around the world, their media is controlled and owned by CNN and various other groups that are connected to that global, control mechanism of the various groups, right? And Kamala being not Trump being elected is wonderful. They're all very, very excited about it. So they were having a debate on Japanese news the other day because the word Kamala is an Indian one, which is interesting because I thought she was the greatest American black lady ever. But her the word Kamala means either lotus or faded red, not pink, faded red. And they were arguing over, debating over what her parents meant when they gave her the name. You know, mundane stuff. I'm sure they called her their little lotus. I'm sure that's what it was. It's not the pale red one, although there's a lot more jokes that can go with that one. I prefer that one if I were a stand-up comedian. But nevertheless, who cares about Kamala Harris or this crazy lady? But I wonder how much more Britain is going to pop. I wonder. I wonder if I have a Grimlock yet. I haven't even checked. I do not have a Grimlock yet, so I will continue. But yeah, so any of you that are in Europe or have friends or anything like that, let me know. What's going on with that over there because it looks pretty bad. Let's see here. So Chester, you think You think dumber Kamala can beat Trump in a debate? No, I don't. I don't think so at all. But then I'm telling you what the media, which is controlled by these assholes, keep that in mind, Roger. What they're telling the world. Outside of America, either a tight race or Kamala's way ahead. That's what they're telling the world, right? Which means you better watch out because they're probably up to something, right? But also keep in mind, I don't think you'll see a debate with Kamala and Trump. I seriously doubt that'll happen. You never know, but I doubt it. And also keep in mind that the FBI, the FBI is now questioning whether Donald Trump was even shot at all. You notice that the FBI is doubling down. Of course, they know when he comes in, he's going to shut him down, or at least tear the hell out of their leadership. So even the FBI is leading about it. Maple Sheik says she was named after one of the great fellow wrestlers, the Ugandan giant, Kamala. That's a good point, Sheik. That is a good point. That's a good point. Yeah. But we'll see how it goes. I'm just telling you what's going on out here in the world. Um, Now this I thought was kind of interesting. Opinion: the NFL doesn't want Colin Kaepernick, and we don't want his AI books. Now, I thought this was an interesting story because Colin Kaepernick is, a washed up has been. I mean, his kneeling nonsense was ridiculous, caused me and many other people to stop watching the NFL. I haven't watched the NFL since, right? And because Colin just wasn't really that great a quarterback. He had a moment in the sun, and it was pretty short. And the reason he was riding the bench was because he wasn't good enough to start, right? And of course, after the fact, him kneeling and becoming very political, even though he was adopted and raised by two nice white people who I guess he hates now. Okay. Um, but he was given opportunities to get back into the league, to go to camps and stuff, and he refused. He didn't want to play football. He just wants money. He wants attention. You know, to be fair, I mean, it is a dangerous job, particularly being a half-ass, quarterback. It could be quite dangerous. But he's decided to change lanes, everybody. He's coming into our world. We got a Colin Kaepernick that is toe dipping into our world, and we got to pay attention to it. Yeah, because he's done with the NFL completely now, trying to grift that and get money off of his kneeling and racism. But basically, he's making comic books now. So in America, so it shows you how much of an idiot he really is, because the American comic book market is absolutely in the gutter. Uh, you know, but he's joined Lumi. Now, Lumi is basically a new thing they've been promoting during the Olympics. I don't know if they're showing it over where you are, but over where I am, they're definitely pushing it. And the whole thing with Lumi is they use AI to make your business better. And he's joined Lumi because there's gatekeepers at the in the comic book world. Yeah, yeah, we know there are, and they're like you, buddy. But he can make his own comic book with Lumi and AI, because AI helps him in so many different ways, including, I'm sure, the art and the writing. But he talks about, the productions, or production value is great, and normally it takes so long, but it's so quick. And he's on and on and on about it. And of course, constantly every other word, racist, you're a racist, you're a racist, and Lumi is great because they let me fight the racisms. Would you like to see his comic book? I do. Here we go. We got a reveal. Okay. Oh, comic books, AI art there. Yeah. Here it is. New York Times best-selling author Colin Kaepernick changed The Game, a graphic novel. We got a young, youthful Colin that doesn't know the world is raceful and hateful against him because he's a black man and he was raised by white people who loved him and seemingly he loved them and then nothing ever bad happened in his life other than when he was little and being adopted, which he probably doesn't even remember. But no, no, no. The world is against him. The police need to be stopped and defunded. And of course, his heroic afro in the background, showing the power of Colin Kaepernick. Do you want to read that book? Anybody? Hands up? Anybody? Yeah, I'm not interested in reading that book. And of course, that's why he couldn't get anyone to publish it because, like, yeah, no one's going to read that book. We're on our knees as it is. But he's found himself some AI. And I hate to tell you there, Colin, this AI art you got, it ain't great, dude. It ain't great. But I guess that's the style he wanted to go for. But yeah. So Colin Kaepernick still playing that race card, hard, 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 hard. It's amazing how raceful the world is for this incredibly light-skinned mulatto who was raised by wealthy, rich white people who seemingly loved him and cared for him, and he tossed under the bus in 1 second flat. I guess it's kind of part of the same thing. They tell a single man never ever date, or certainly don't marry a single mom, right? Because in the end, you aren't the thing. You're not in charge of anything. You have no authority. She'll toss you to the curb in a second when it comes to her kids. And this is the reason why we say you have no authority. And what business do you have raising other people's kids when you don't even have one of your own? Now, divorced or older guys messing with single women, that's to each his own. But a young man should never do that. And I guess it's kind of the same with orphans. Maybe it's better not to adopt one because, they're just going to toss you under the bus immediately. And this isn't the only example, by the way. There's many examples of orphan kids just tossing the foster parents who seemingly they loved, who were great to them, wonderful to them, gave them a life, just tossing them under the bus, particularly black kids. So maybe, maybe out there and adopting, maybe it's kind of like dating a single mom. Maybe it's something you shouldn't be doing. Yeah. Has it been 15 minutes? Yes, it has, YouTube. It has. Because you're not allowed to say you shouldn't date single moms, I guess. But I said it. Let's see. Alan says he heard that Rosa Parks is forming a team. There's a joke in there somewhere. So let's see here. Maple, yeah, he made the Uganda Giant joke. All right, good, good. I'm caught up. All right. But I just thought this was funny because, I'm being sarcastic, obviously. But yeah, it's just one, it looks lame as hell. Who wants to read this book? This is something that you sell to Scholastic, and I bet you that's what happened. Because look at the title. New York Times best-selling author. Really? Yeah. I wonder he must have wrote a book after his kneeling thing. This is the kind of thing you sell to Scholastic, right? Stand up to Whitey, right? I got to put those in the kids' library for sure. Tell them all how bad Whitey is. But I also love the idea of this story because we have a lot of artists on this show, right? And we do the Drawn Recorded Ultimate Edition, of course, and they're very concerned with the whole AI thing, and as they should be. Yeah. And it does look super generic, Alan. And I get it. And Alan right here is a great, great artist himself. But AI is coming and it ain't going away. It's kind of like the tire, horsepower is what it is, right? And the engine and all that kind of stuff. It's here to stay. I know that for sure. But we're already seeing it impact it because Lumi is basically advertising at the Olympics. Who knows how many millions of dollars they're dumping into that? So who's behind Lumi to have that kind of money to advertise so heavily at the Olympic Games? You know the IOC are greedy bastards. You know right well that they're charging like Super Bowl prices for that because they're delusional and think it's that important. But someone's pumping out money for that. And Lumi basically is AI to make the world better. It'll do everything for you. It will create for you. It'll produce for you. It will do all the noisy red tape behind the scenes, getting everything organized for you, etc., etc. That's what Lumi is selling, right? Now, is it capable of doing what they say it wants to do? Maybe, maybe. We've seen the amazing surge in AI, right? It could be. I do, but we keep in mind the money behind the Democrats is much larger than the Democrats themselves. But nevertheless, oh, Colin's got to make him a comic bookie. Yeah, genius, genius. All righty. Let's move on here. I wanted to just talk about Comicsgate here, not Comic Con here for a second. Um, uh, you know, Many years ago, Comic Con and Gen Con and of course E3 and the various other kind of big conventions throughout the year, depending on how nerdy you are and what you're interested in, are always great to watch. For me, living vicariously over here in the countryside of Japan, I could go on the internet and I could see what's going on at Comic Con, watch all the walkthroughs and all the new announcements. And of course, E3 was a big one with the video games. Gen Con is another one, that's used to be very, very much D&D esque and tabletop role playing type stuff. It's been kind of taken over by board games, but hey, I love those too. But I've enjoyed those for years and years and years. It's a nice thing for me and people who can't get out to those events to be able to see it. Of course, recently it's taken a hit, even though it should have boomed during COVID, just simply doing it televised, right? But they didn't. And of course, one of the reasons these things have been hurt is Disney. They're better than them, and they have their own Disney thing that they do, and people are going to love it, which they didn't, and now they're back. But they killed these things because there wasn't anything interesting going to them for a while. E3 is completely dead, right? And that was great. I loved E3. Now I've been to a Comic Con myself. I kind of wonder how many of you have been to a Comic Con as well. They do exist all over the world, and of course we also have other conventions, many conventions. But Comic Con, I did enjoy it, and we're getting a little bit of return here with all the big companies getting back and starting to get back involved because they realize, well, this is useful, right? And look, they even have ABC, Disney is and Warner Brothers is sponsoring them again. Oh, how nice! It's nice. They even got Paramount in there. But anyway, I'm not really going to talk about Comic Con very much, but I did want to talk about what the cops are doing at Comic Con. So, you know, it's kind of interesting. San Diego Comic Con human trafficking sting results in 14 arrests, 10 rescues. Rescue. That's interesting. Now, you know, human trafficking, of course, is bad. I think we all agree, for sure. We know there's a lot of it goes on all over the place, particularly in blue states where they can get away with a lot more, right? But I thought I found this article very interesting because it's basically quoting this task force boss and the people attached to the task force. And in the initial part of the interview, they're basically going on about how this whole thing was set up to get the traffickers, which, I get it. Makes sense, right? If you want to stop trafficking, you have to get the traffickers, right? I'm 100% for it, right? And also protect underage girls who are being trafficked. Fair enough. I don't think anyone disagrees with it. But remember this little headline I just showed you here? 14 arrests and 10 rescues. Well, one of those rescues was a 16-year-old girl. So the rest of them, n- yeah, that's not really accurate number. They're just whores, right? But the big one here, 14 arrests. Now, keep in mind, in the beginning of this interview, this task force boss is going on and on and on about how they go to get the traffickers, go to get the traffickers. How many of that 14 arrests of these 14 arrests under this with this undercover sting, right? They're posing as sex buyers, you see. But how many of those 14 arrests do you think were actually traffickers? Anybody? Anybody? How many? 1? 10? 14? Yeah. 0. Of course. All 14 of these are nerds that are just trying to get sex and they have no idea how old the girls are anyway. So, of course, in the end, it is the sex buyer, as you see here, who the ones that really got messed with. And I always find this hilarious. Prostitutes will get a little something here or there. The pimps never get busted, especially the big ones. The people that always pay are the guys who are paying, right? The guys who are paying for sex, which shouldn't be illegal anyway. Trafficking should be, but prostitution shouldn't be illegal. Why should it be? Why can't a woman do what she wants? And if you make it legal, you can regulate it. Make sure it's they got health certificates and stuff like that, right? All that kind of stuff that comes with modern government, and I know a lot of libertarians hate what I just said, but there's always got to be a little bit of socialism in government. I mean, it's kind of hard to get away from it. It's called compromise, buddy. Yeah. But nevertheless, it's always the sex buyer, the solicitor, the John, who gets busted and gets abused the most. They're the ones who end up doing jail time. They get huge fines. They're the ones they get dragged to the court. It's their picture that gets put on the wall. And it's like, why? These guys didn't do anything. They just went and looked to pay a girl money to have sex. You can pay money to watch a girl have sex. That's okay. You can spend tons of money on a girl which is actually more expensive for dates and jewelry and flowers, and you can have sex with her. We're constantly paying for women, but yet you're not allowed to just directly pay for it, and you're the greatest villain in the circle of it. Really? But that's the way it is, right? Now, to be fair, I don't really care about this kind of thing. I've never done it myself. For me, it's like, ew. Or, I'm sorry, I should do it the male way. Ugh. Sorry. But yeah, it's of course. They go on about how proud they are. They're going to get these traffickers. They're going to save these girls. Rah, 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 right? They make all this noise, and in the end, they just arrest 14 dudes who are just looking to get laid. Right? And I'm sure they're going to make examples out of them because, you have to. That's the whole point. These damn solicitors. But I can kind of see the point. If you have no solicitors, then there's no business. But you're not going to get rid of that. It's been around since before we know. We've lost more human history than we have. Keep that in mind. I just thought this is funny. Now it has nothing to do with Comic Con at all. They're acting like it does, but it doesn't. It's just this thing, and I'm sure. And I saw that Mr. Miracle had made the comment in the Discord that these events, of course, there's always pimps around trying to, you know, why not? There's a bunch of people showing up. You can sell your goods. I mean, that's the kind of way it is. I just think it's hilarious that if that's the fact that the pimps are out there trying to take advantage of the mass of people coming together, like a Comic Con, which are quite huge, right? That they didn't arrest a single one. Not one. Not one seller. Not one prostitute. The only people that got arrested were Johns. I do love the fact of that, especially with all the pontificating and glory. Well, I shouldn't use that word. Vainglorious. Um, let's see. Uh, I can't say that on YouTube. I do apologize, but virtue signaling, I guess. How about that? That these police went through. In the end, they just arrested a bunch of Johns. Yay! Wonderful. Anyway, Comic Con's fun. I've been to one. I now the one thing I was disappointed with it was I couldn't really buy any comic books. There was only a couple places. Their selection was very limited, and they were jacking they were doubling, tripling the prices on you. You would think a comic book convention would have a lot of comic books, but yeah, not really. Yep. Alan says, I thought the Thai masseuse I got was a SDCC exclusive. No. Yeah. But yeah, see, most countries in the world kind of deal with it like that. Don't ask, don't tell. Right. And that's kind of how most of the world deals with prostitution. And as long as they don't make too much noise and you don't make too much noise, it's all good, right? I lived in Taiwan for a while, and Taiwan has doesn't have the Thai masseuse, which is everyone knows what that is. In Taiwan, Hong Kong has this too. They have the beauty salon. Yeah, I know it's a place women go to get their hair done and makeup and nails, but the beauty salon is a front for brothels in those places. Now, to be fair, Taipei actually has an area in Taipei that was grandfathered in where prostitution is actually legal. It's called Snake Alley. And honestly, the government should stop this nonsense and make it legal so that you can regulate it, make it safer, make it safer for everybody, especially a prostitute. But governments are governments, and religion gets involved in that kind of stuff. But yeah, yeah. Yeah. Here in Japan, they have soaplands, which are legal, but not supposed to involve direct sex, but I know they do. Um, and they have here in Japan, the fellatio is completely legal, and they have little fellatio shops in the red light districts. We don't have any in the city over the mountain here from me that I know of. There might be, but I have never heard of one. I do the Oita City. I'd imagine they do. I don't know. I don't know. But I do go to Copper Ravens in Beppu. I love that venue, by the way. It's very British, kind of live house. And it's literally slap dab in the middle of soaplands and fellatio shops. They're all around. It's all it is. It's like it's weird that one of the buildings there is a live house. I don't know what that is. But so that's the only place I actually confirmed it because I could see it. But nevertheless, you know, good job, I guess. Try harder. All right. Anyway, now I thought this was pretty interesting because Bungie blames mass layoffs because they just fired a bunch of people. But then keep in mind, a lot of companies are firing off. Now, some of it is natural. They will hire a lot of people for crunch to get a game done, and then when it's done, they fire everybody. Right? I mean that happens all the time. You might not like it, but it is what it is. But we're seeing a lot heavier levels of layoff in companies beyond that, right? And the reason is even though the American government and other governments are lying to you and saying that we're not in a recession, we've been in a recession for a couple of years now, right? And shocking, you shut the whole world down and you think there isn't going to be a recession, but we've been in one. We're actually approaching a depression. So don't listen to the bullshit. They're just lying, just like everything else they lie about. And the first thing that goes away in a recession, and particularly a depression, which we're inching toward, is the service market, luxury goods, right? People their pocketbooks getting tighter. Food is the main concern, medicine and housing. Going out to a restaurant or going to an event or buying a comic book is the last thing on people's minds. So it's the service industry dries up first. And we're seeing this just happen across the board, no matter what the politicians try to tell you. That, oh, no, the economy's great. Don't look here. No, there's nothing going on. But of course, it's a lie. But Bungie is blaming the tough economy on that, and fair enough. As I just said, that is a real thing. However, we know why Bungie and so many of these other companies are failing directly, though. We know, right? And it's because of their virtue signaling. Now, this is nowhere near the worst company. Bungie is nowhere near the worst. But they've done this nonsense too. Now, keep in mind, these are the Halo guys, or is this Mass Effect? I can't remember. But mainly, I remember them going sideways with Destiny. Now, this is years and years ago when the first one came out, and my son was interested in FPS shooter type stuff, so I bought it for him. I mean, I let my kids play video games. I was very strict on how many hours a week they could play, and I was also strict on how many games they got. But I did get because I figured, oh, Bungie, it's a new game, it's gonna be great, right? It was awful, and I had to pull a mulligan on that. Yeah, because that was a really bad game, and of course, as time has gone on, they've just gotten worse and worse and worse. I think Bungie is the Mass Effect people, right? They're the ones that came out with Andromeda, and it was such a bad failure. I'm pretty sure. Alan says economy is going to crash hard regardless who's in office next. I don't want to put the juju out there. No, no, no. It's true. It already is happening, dude. It's already happening. Matter of fact, the Democrats are trying to forestall it so they could blame everything on Trump, but it's hitting them already, and they can't stop it. We've been in a recession for years, and a full-on depression is coming because they did nothing to fix it, which they did intentionally. Don't let them lie to you guys. Don't let them lie to you. They know exactly what they're doing, or they're doing exactly what they're told, and the people that told them to do it know exactly what they're doing. However you want to look at it. But Pete Parson, CEO over at Bungie, he's like, yeah, it's hard times. We gotta let everybody off, and of course we're not making money and stuff. And of course it has nothing to do with their absolutely god awful games, their DEI hires, or any of their nonsense that of course they and many of these other AAA companies are involved with. And they just going on and on and on about it. And then you can go read this over Abounding in the Comics. They just going through all of the nonsense and the lies of it and showing what they've been doing over the years and just putting it back in their face. It's a good article. You might want to go read it if you're interested in such things. But this is just another virtue signaling DEI company that's getting their comeuppance. And there's going to be many of them. Ubisoft is in huge trouble. They're having huge financial issues. Bethesda, of course, is constantly spitting in the face of its fans, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The good thing, though, is the indie market is thriving. So the simple fact that they're saying it's hard times, there just isn't money out there, really? Because there are plenty of indie guys making millions and millions and millions. And of course, Bungie started as nobody, right? I'm pretty sure. I don't know their history, but as with most gaming companies, they started in someone's garage or basement and they got bought out by someone, you know? And I'm sure Bungie's the same. I could be wrong. Correct me if I am. Uh, but um, but yeah, I mean, the indies are making tons of money. You guys aren't making money because you're making crap product and you're penny pinching your customers, demanding more money for them for less, and the people are kind of sick of it. It's like, I don't play FPSs and stuff. Some of you guys might. But what I do play is city builders and simulation games. I like those. My favorite one over the years has been The Sims, just simply The Sims. I love SimCity and City Skylines as well, but The Sims has extra quality to it, and I love all kind of aspects of it. And I also love the idea of that game that it's a um, multi culture spanning game. Meaning, you got the nerds that like to build stuff and build all and all the kind of grinding to finish challenges, and there's a lot. That's a lot of fun. You got people like me who do that. You got the girls who like the fashion and the social and et cetera, et cetera. There's something in that game for everybody, and I think that's a good thing. But those idiots over there at Maxis, of course, EA, Electronic Arts, they're constantly putting out these 30, $40 packs, and and every one they put out with has less and less content in it. And every time they drop, it's buggy, 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 buggy all the time. It's worse than Bethesda, worse. And you're starting to see the community push back real hard. And I think the reason is because we didn't have options before. We're kind of stuck with Maxis and The Sims, but there are several new Sim-esque games either out or on the horizon. So I have a feeling the fans feel a little bit more freedom to give them what for, as they should. But I do love this Pete Parsons here, blaming it's purely upon the market when we have seen things like Pal World and many Hell Divers and many of their examples just make millions and millions of dollars out the gate almost instantly. And of course, you're not doing that because you're not making anything anybody wants because it's woke crap, it's lazy, you're penny pinching, you're giving the absolute minimum effort, and honestly, I have no problem at all with these AAA studios going away. None at all. I know a lot of people are bemoaning the death of Disney. Not me. I would rather it burn and go away than Walt Disney's legacy be tarnished the way it is, in my opinion. I'd much rather there be no Disney. And this nonsense we saw with Obama, and keep in mind that really wasn't Barack Obama, it was the people above him, his bosses, because he was just I shouldn't say that, I get in trouble, but he was just a puppet, right? But they're too big to fail and bailing out the banks. No, they're not. That's exactly how capitalism works. If you fail, there's going to be a bunch of people nibbling at your toes to take your spot. And that creates competition, which is great for us, the consumer. Um, Alan says, excuse me, Roger says, the Hollow comics, you're right. We're looking at a depression here about toward the end of August. Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be before the end of the year. I would argue it's probably already in existence. You're just not seeing the extent of it. Anyway, this story with Bungie is not unique. It's kind of what we're seeing with AAA across the board. And honestly, the only people who got to blame is themselves. Although, as with most of these companies, they decided to blame you. Yeah, you're poor. It's your fault, poor person. All right. Anyway, you guys know every week I enjoy coming over here and seeing what's going on with the movies. It doesn't look like we had much of a shift this week, but I'll take a look. Deadpool's still raking the money and see what it's making. Wow. Wow. It's made $400 million. Depending on what they spend on this, they either have made money or they're coming toward breaking even. But yeah, that's good, and that's going to sell DVDs and stuff like that. And if any of you think that Disney's going to see this and like, maybe we should make normal movies again, they don't care. They don't care what you think, dude. They don't care. They're going to keep making their crap until they burn. It's that simple. They don't care, right? Because they don't have to care. They got big sugar daddy BlackRock to take care of them, right? That company's got trillions of dollars. What do they care about a few hundred million? What do they care, right? They don't mean it means nothing. But good on you, Ryan and Hugh, for coming out and giving us probably their last hurrah. Why not? And it sounds like a good last hurrah movie anyway. There's a lot of cameos, a lot of wrapping up people's stories, a lot of love for the movies and the comic books, and that's cool. We love to see it. But I have a feeling you're not going to see any more of it. This Twister seems to be hanging on though. That thing is made like what 130 million. It's pretty good for a budget horror movie. They probably made money already, right? Because I didn't see any advertisement for that whatsoever. Despicable Me still making money. Inside Out still making money. So yeah, nothing new, no changes. Let's see if anything came out that just bombed. Let's see here. Trap came out. Yeah, never heard of that. It's from Warner Brothers. Let's see what that looks like. A father and his teen daughter attend a pop concert only to realize they've entered the center of a dark and sinister event. Oh, yeah, this one gives away everything in the trailer, which I saw. Spoilers, he's a serial killer and his daughter doesn't know he is. And the cops have found him out at an event. So he's taking his daughter to a pop event. I'm sure it's a Cardi B, and she's going on about pussies and their wetness. Anyway, let's see here. Harold and the Purple Crayon. Now this one is with Levy Kid from Shazam, right? And yeah, I bombed. Hello, my name is Harold. The things I draw come true. I remember this from Captain Kangaroo, I think. It was really cute, but I'm pretty sure it's Levy, right? Yeah, it's Levy. Um, that's a shame. Maybe it's just not good, but that's definitely something from my childhood. But yeah, yeah, that's not going to make money. And they had a wide release, over 3,000 theaters too. Long Legs is still there. Firing Squad, I don't care. Bad Boys still going on. Kneecap sounds like a horror movie. Yeah, I don't see anything huge here that just absolutely bombed. No, no. Okay, cool. All right. So, what do I got here? I thought today I would end. It's just me, so I only got to do like kind of a normal old style show, just an hour. But I thought I'd take a look and see what's going on with the comic books. The twist in Trap isn't him being a killer. They set that up right away. They did. Um, uh, yeah, they did. That they gave it away in the trailer, and a lot of trailers these days they're just not constructed properly. They can't think of a way to attract your attention, so they just give away the entire plot. We've seen it with Abigail and with many things, and I suppose that's probably something we've seen in the past too. But they just don't really, they don't seem to care about it. But the simple fact of the matter is, if you see a movie that looks interesting or sounds interesting, don't watch the trailer these days. Don't do that. Anyway, we got Batman number 151. I know the new Batman animated series they put out is god awful. DEI hate mongering is what that is. So don't watch that. We got Uncanny X-Men number 1 again. Another number 1. No. Really? Oh no. God. This tactic, they've been doing this for decades. When are they going to learn? The bubble popped on comic books back in the early 90s, guys. Knock this shit off. Uncanny X-Men number 1. God, unbelievable. The Avengers number 17. They've renumbered everything again. Oh, I can't. I don't even, dude. I've lost count how many times in the past 30 years they've done this. I've lost count how many times they've renumbered the same damn comic book. I mean, literally, it's got to be more than a dozen. It's got to be. It's ridiculous. They can't go a couple of years because the problem is number ones, when they come out with a number one, it catches people attention. Ooh, number one, and they buy. So the number ones sell better than the other stuff. And keep in mind, they're not selling anything. The numbers that these guys are selling are pitiful. They're pitiful. Back just even in the late 90s, the numbers they have now, the comic would be canceled, right? That's how bad it is now. It's so bad. But so if they can increase their sales by 10, 20%, by simply putting number one on it. That's why they do it, right? Um, let's see here. There's no kills in the movie, all suspense. It was for teens. And there's a lot of movies like that these days that have no kills or blood at all. I stopped buying the big two, only dip in if I like the artist. Yeah, no, I'm the same way, dude. Yeah, I'm the same way. Mainly what I buy is to come from you guys. Let's see here. Yeah, it's renumbering of nonsense all over absolute power. Absolutely. And of course that's where they put Superman over to get rid of him because they're doing the gay Superman now. So the real Superman's been put over in this book. Doesn't even have his name on it. Yeah. And of course he's getting his ass kicked on the cover. Yeah. Justice. Man. Okay. Doctor Strange number 18. Uh-huh. Alrighty. And this definitely looks like the movie universe version of him. Bird of Prey, Spectre. These are all just renumbered nonsense. Not saying that some of them aren't good. There probably is. You got some image stuff here with Scarlet and Gunslinger Spawn. Okay, if that's your thing. Boy Wonder. Mhm. A deviant, another thing from Image, and we talked about this a little bit. Some people get don't like Image because they put out woke stuff. They do, but they also put out non-woke stuff. They're kind of like Amazon. They'll let you run with what you run if it's going to be successful. They don't insist that everything be one thing or the other, though, right? Which is what Warner Brothers and Disney are doing with their respective comic books. Everything has to be the woke, gay agenda nonsense. Image doesn't care about that. You do your book, and if it's successful, then good for you, right? And good for them. But so you can get woke stuff and non-woke stuff at Image, and I'm 100% fine with that. Like this right here, this American or British chick, Scorched, number 32. It's good looking, good, so pretty lady. That's nice. Blue Beetle. Man, they screwed up with that movie. That's unfortunate. Walking Dead still going. Please go away. Let's see here. Space Ghost. But they've made that serious. I guess it was kind of serious in the beginning. Ain't no grave. Ain't no grave far enough, I guess. Let's see. Star Wars High Republic. No one wants this crap. No one wants your High Republic crap. Let's see here. Kneel before Zod. Well, I think people that Zod was never quite like that, but all right. Gotham City Sirens. They're still trying to push this, and they've renumbered it. Gotham City Sirens number one. How many times they're going to renumber this or retitle it to try to get you? Hey, these are the bad girls in DC. Come watch them be lesbians. Okay. Yeah, people aren't interested. That is a great name for a comic book, though. Kneel before Zod. I love it. Superman with bad art. Blood Hunters. This is going with the Return of Dracula thing, and everyone's a vampire, including Miles. Sweet. A Vicious Circle from Boom. I like Boom. Dark Horse is doing some High Republic nonsense. Batman Scooby Doo Mysteries. Ooh, they're doing more of those. Chitara. Justice Runs in the Family. DC Comics Wayne Family Adventure. I would be terrified to look at that. Everyone's gay, I'm sure. What is Gun Honey? It's from Titan. Oh, it's from Titan. It's French or French reprint. Kaya Images. Oni Press. Cruel Universe. Going back to the old style. I like it. Misery. All right, we talked about that one before. More Scooby Doo stuff. Arkham Horror from Dark Horse. The Goon. The Goon is still going on. Wow. Don't stay. Them that don't stay dead. They're doing a mini series or something with it. Number 2. Hercules. Number 4. Alrighty. Vampirella still going amazing. The legs that thing has. I wonder why. Hmm. Cowl. 1964. Number 1. Where the superheroes came from. That's not a bad idea. You can tell what that is instantly, and the art looks good. Art looks really, really good. Matter of fact, is that my boy? No, but Rod Race, I like what you're about, dude. He did the cover too. I like the art. I like it. Let's see here. Yeah, My Hero Academia in English from Viz Media, number 430. Wow. Red Before Black. Poison is dangerous. I get it. Okay. Dark Crystal. Did you guys like that miniseries that came out here recently? Did you like it? The Blood Hunters might suck. Sorry, they probably do. I get the joke as well, but it is Marvel, current age Marvel. So Winnie the Pooh, Demon Hunter. Here it is. That's Antarctic Press, The Betrayers. I'm surprised they survived all of that with Mark Wade and all that stuff that went on with Antarctic Press, because the industry and the people were pretty upset with them for their turncoatedness. But they're still around, and they're doing Winnie the Pooh IP, of course. Why is everybody, now that Winnie's available, have made him horror movies and death and destruction? Winnie the Pooh is about the inner child trying to grow up. I mean, it's kind of disgusting. What are you people doing? Leave Pooh Bear alone. All right. The pedestrian. That might be funny. Magma Comics. I've definitely seen some new comic book titles. I wonder if they came out of this whole indie resurgence that we were part of with this channel. I wonder if some of them are from that. Helverine. No, don't need it. Yeah, Jughead, the Archie comics still going, dude. When I was young, that was like the number one girl comic was Archie. I don't know about now. Gatchaman, Mad Cave Studios. X-Men for Comic Con. You can go get artists to draw on your book. I wonder if Mike went to Comic Con this year. Anybody know? Did Mike Miller go to Comic Con, or did Ethan or any of those guys go? I suppose they've been ousted. Hmm. Yeah, alrighty. So a few titles in there look a little bit interesting. But nevertheless, excellent. Thank you all for coming in today. It's just me, so I'm just going to kind of do like what I did way, way back in the day, just do an hour show. They've gotten a little long-winded these days, but we're having fun, and that's the whole point. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed today's Sans Thundero. You just got me. Oh, but nevertheless, do keep in mind next week there will be no shows. I won't be doing Drawn and Quartered. I won't be doing Bugbear Basement, nor will I be doing this show. I have been kidnapped. Call somebody, just not the FBI, because you know they don't work for the people anymore. Am I allowed to say that? Oh well, I did. I live outside of the country. Good luck with extradition. They probably have it here in Japan, though. I should say that. But nevertheless, I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Have a good summer. Enjoy the Olympics if you can. I know a lot of people saying they're boycotting. I get it. I do understand exactly why you're doing that. But, you know, if you can watch it on the side somewhere where you're not supporting and having to pay for anything, you are supporting the athletes, though. Like, for instance, we just had, even though they don't talk about it much because all they want to do is talk about a certain color of people that do certain things. But we did have big old bomber of a white boy win his third Olympic gold in a row in the shot put, right? That's pretty impressive. We also had an American archer, white guy, definitely looks like a bow hunter and a Harley rider. Yeah, very American. Almost got silver, almost, I mean, within literally centimeters of, winning the gold away from the Koreans. And these days, that ain't an easy task. So there's some really cool things happening. But anyway, I'll see you guys all later. And yeah, stay safe out there. Later.